Welcome, pickle people, to Dinking with Dow. We have a phenomenal guest on this week. It is the right side goat. They call him CJ. That's his only nickname, but his name's Collin Johns. Great guy, great guest. Just want to say, guys, use the code DOW10, capital D, capital O, 10. Use DOW10 at the Ace checkout. Go use the club. This is the club. This is the paddle that I play with, the paddle that Anderson Scarpa plays with. It is a phenomenal paddle. It's just a perfect blend of power and control, really good spin. It's just a quality paddle. It's $129.95 without the discount code. And listen, I've played with probably 7 paddles in the last 6 to 9 months, and this is the best paddle I played with. And it's $50 to $100 less than those other paddles. So guys, get the paddle. You can get the spade, you can get the diamond too. I'm a club guy. Get the club. Use my code 10% off DOW10 acepickleball.co. Use it. Listen, this is my child. Okay? Are you hungry? You hungry? Do you need shoes? She needs shoes and food. Do you understand that? This is the only way she gets food and shoes, okay? Use the code, buy the paddle. She needs shoes, she needs food. She wants a life, right? She wants to live a life. So just use the code, okay? Thank you. We have a very special guest today. Very special. It's Collin Johns, king of the right side. They call him CJ. Collin, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Okay, let's just get into it, bro. I'm a right side guy, okay? So I look up to you in a lot of ways, okay? What are you doing? Just can you take me through like a day-to-day like training regimen as far as just, I mean, playing, working out, diet, bowel movements, size, and frequency? Like, let me just take me through it.
Take Greg through how to become a great right-sider.
Correct.
Well, you do have a win over me when you were on the right. I was playing in front of you on the left most of that match, if memory serves, in Charlotte last year.
Wow. And I listen, I appreciate you bringing that up because I was not going to bring that up. When I was texting you about coming on, I was going to say, hey, I won't bring up my 1-0 record against you. No,
I'm honest about it. Yeah, we played in Charlotte last year, and yeah, you got the W with Scarpa against me and Pat Smith, and it came down to the wire. I think it was like 11-9 in the third, indoors on center court. So yeah, that was the best I had seen you play, and I hadn't seen the Dow backhand punch before, and it definitely got me a couple times.
Thanks. Hey, listen, I am just overjoyed by you saying that. Listen, we got very lucky during that match. Pat Smith had 7 to 9 foot faults. And then
there are uncharacteristically a lot of foot faults. Yes.
It was actually, I mean, I was literally saying, I was like, sorry. Like, I was literally like saying sorry to him because it actually got kind of pitiful, but I appreciate you saying that. It's been all downhill since then for Dow, but yeah, man, take me through because a lot of guys are gonna start being full-time pickle and everything. Like, take me through just a day. You wake up, you just take me through it, man. Give it to me.
Well, I've been studying and trying to get as good as I can be on the right side for a long time, so I think that's part of the secret, and some people don't fully realize that, because when I first started playing pickleball back in, I guess it was 2018, Ben was already the best player, and he's like, hey, it would be great if we could play together. and I'm going to play the left. And why don't you get really good at the right? Like, you've got tons of potential. You're a former pro tennis player, really good at table tennis. You learn quickly. I'll help you. So why don't you just become my partner? And from the get-go, I was like, yeah, that's the goal. Like, that's what I want to do. And all of my efforts from that point forward have been to be as good as I can possibly be on the right side and be the perfect complement to Ben, and to ultimately be the best team in the world. So that sort of led my training regimen. And I will say it has hurt my mixed game, or even necessarily, like, if I'm playing with somebody else and that's not Ben, that doesn't have his skill set, it doesn't necessarily do me all the favors in the world. But we have come up with a system that is very hard for other teams to figure out and beat when we play together. So the strength of the team unit is stronger than the individual players themselves, right, which I think is really important, especially now these days. You see more teams play together full-time right-sider, left-sider. So I should predicate all of that on saying I've been studying the right side for a very long time, and that's where I feel most comfortable. And as you progress through your pickleball journey, you start to figure out which shots are most important when you're playing a specific role. So for example, you figured this one out where the backhand counter on the right side is so much more important than the forehand counter, just because the sideline is going to protect you and your right partner is going to protect you in the middle. So just to be clear for the people listening, if I shift to my right when I'm on the right side and I just sit on my backhand, I basically got all of my side covered with my backhand counter, and I don't really have to guess whether it's a forehand or a backhand. I know it's a backhand. And then if the ball's to my right, it's wide. And then if it's to my left, it's my partner's ball. Versus if you're on the left side, that wouldn't really work, because you're fading towards the middle with your backhand and then you're leaving the sideline exposed. So definitely right, a shot that you hit well. Some other ones that we put our finger on early is just taking the ball out of the air well at the kitchen line and rolling it cross court. That's just an aggressive dink, as well as dink consistency, of course. But that one, I remember the first tournament that Ben and I ever played and won together was back in 2019 at Triple Crown. And I was kind of learning that shot on the fly that day. And I remember playing Wes Gabrielson and Matt Wright on center court. And Wes has that nasty slice cut as a lefty cross court. And it was kind of eating me up at first. And Ben's like, you got to take that one out of the air and you got to roll it back. And it wasn't as easy back then. You had the fiberglass paddles, and you didn't have the grip that you have now. So it took a little while to figure it out. But I remember by the end of that tournament, I was like, I really feel a lot better with that shot. And we came back to win that tournament. So little things like that along the way, which I don't even think about necessarily now, are part of the evolution of my right side game, among many other things.
Interesting, man. Yeah, I mean, you're the guy. I mean, and it's interesting, like you say that, like, talking about playing with Ben, and like, I don't know. I mean, like, do you think you're the elite right side player? Like, let's say you played with like a J-Dub or a Riley or one of the other top guys who's playing the left. Do you still see yourself as the number one right side player? Or do you think, like, how much does Ben help you? Like, I mean, you're obviously like at the top, but like you versus Matt Wright with, the top 5 or 10 left side players. Like, how do you think you stack up there?
Yeah, I think that I would certainly be in the conversation with any good left side player as one of the best complements to their game. But certainly game style makes a big difference. You look at someone like Matt Wright, he plays a very different right side than what I do. I mean, when it comes down to it, the right side player is going to have a certain role that's sort of set, but he's much more aggressive than I am, and tends to do things a little bit differently, and that works for him. So maybe he complements a certain player better than I complement a certain player. And I have JW on my team for MLP this second half of the year. And we're still figuring out how to play together. So I expect to do a lot better on the second and third events as I kind of get to know his game better. He gets to know my game better. We talk it through. And that's something that you've seen throughout the last few years, that the teams that stick together and play together a lot start to get really good together. So the faster we can pick up on each other's tendencies and what we do well, what we don't do well, and how to cover those things, the better team we're going to be. And I think part of the success that he's had with Dylan Frazier is because they've played together so much. So I can be a little bit more like Dylan. He can be a little bit more like Ben. And we start to meld that into a nice partnership. So to answer your question, I think I'm right in that conversation. But again, it just comes down to the given skill set that player has.
No, I agree. That's a good answer. Well, okay, so take me through because like I'm a right side guy. Like, take me through. Just give me a drill, give me something because you seem like what I've noticed by you is like you're really, really good in the midcourt. A lot of people said this, but you're great in the midcourt. Your drops are very good too, but you're extremely comfortable in that midcourt area. Do you do specific drills for that area? Or like, I mean, how do you, because that's like my dude, I'm good at the kitchen and my drops are they're on and off, but usually they're pretty good. It's like the midcourt, I'm just struggling, man. I just can't. I can't, dude. The fifth shot, like it's tough. I just got to run to the kitchen line, or like I don't know what else to do. So like, is there anything that you're doing drill wise or practice wise that helps you improve that shot?
Yeah, I think part of it is knowing how important that part of the court is. And especially for me in the role that I play, I know that it's extremely important to get us up to the kitchen line. And even when we're at the kitchen line, I stereotypically block more than your average player. And the reason I do that is not that I necessarily can't counterattack, it's that when we're at the kitchen line, in a kitchen line battle, and Ben has an opportunity to attack, I feel like that puts us in the most winning position of any of the four players. So obviously any of the four can attack or counterattack. And there will be times where I'll get attacked or I have an attackable ball where I will pass on that opportunity because I have confidence in blocking the ball back into the kitchen and putting off that battle because I know that in 2 to 3 shots, Ben will probably get a ball that he likes and the likelihood of us winning the point has been increased. So
Right.
in other words, if I get a medium ball where I was like, I could pull the trigger and might win this 51% of the time, that's not good enough to me. I would rather reset it and make that almost every time and then let Ben hit a 60% attack 5 balls from now. So
Right.
once I kind of figured out who I was playing with and how I could set him up best, I was like, well, it makes a lot of sense to practice a lot of midcourt and a lot of blocking because the kitchen never disappears on you. You can always keep going back to there and putting off that battle unless it's very obvious that you should counterattack. So I think the first part of that was recognizing the importance of it, and then also just charting a match in general to see where people make a lot of mistakes. I mean, you talked about struggling there, and I know a lot of people tend to struggle there. I think that a larger portion of the match is won and lost in the midcourt simply by virtue of getting yourself to the line more often and getting more bites at the apple, so to speak, by getting to the kitchen line on a ball that, a lot of players would have missed because not every third is going to be perfect. That's just the reality of it. But if you're really good in the midcourt and you can back up pretty good thirds with really good midcourt, you're going to get yourself to the line more. So that's the first thing about recognizing the importance of it. After that, it was more drill and kill than anything else. And once I recognized that it was important, I used to work at this country club, and I had a ball machine there. And in my downtime, I would set it up, and I would just drill the heck out of midcourt and put up targets in the kitchen and just over and over simulate top spin rolls or really high pace shots coming down to my feet. And if you practice enough, you figure out certain things that work for you. And I think that's really led to me developing that midcourt game. And recognition was the first part, but I think cultivating that by practicing it in a very specific way and just making sure you put in the hours to where you get comfortable. And it doesn't come naturally to everyone right away. It's sort of an unnatural shot in many ways where you have a lot of pace coming at you and then limiting your backswing, because the most natural thing to do is to swing hard back. But the more you practice it, the more stuff you figure out. And it's not a static process. It's not just, hey, go out for 10 hours a day for a month and you're going to get better. It's more like, hey, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And then adjusting. And we'll figure one thing out, like, oh, maybe that leads to the next thing. So really not having a static mindset about it and just expecting that the hours will make you better, but really figuring out how can I make this work? And then one thing leads to another. And I think that's what I can attribute to my midcourt game coming along to what it's at right now.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's great, man. I hope the Pickle House guys are taking notes. Are you aware of the Pickle House? Do you know who these people are? Any idea?
That's the first I've heard of Pickle House.
Okay,
guys.
well, these are guys. This is couple guys in Delray who are sort of James Ignatowicz proteges. They're buddies with James in tennis, and they're now taking on this pickleball journey. Pickleball Dave, ever heard of him?
I don't think so. Maybe he's
You
commented on
will.
some of
You
my
will.
Instagram posts. I don't know.
He's
I know
probably been on your
James introduced
Instagram.
me in Atlanta to one of them. I think that was Davis though.
I think, yeah, Davis. We call him Pickleball Dave. And there's another guy named Jericho Grolman who played with Zane last week. And they're in this house in Delray. They're dinking. They are right side fiends. And these guys, I mean, dude, like literally, bro, like these are like, you want to talk about fans of Collin Johns? Like these guys, dude, they are every day I get a video every single day of you hitting just like kind of like a reset, just a perfect reset in the midcourt, or like a little kind of forehand flick down the line, like whatever it is. So I just hope those guys are taking notes, because this is big. I mean, you are literally their idol.
Which is funny because most people will be like, they'll idolize Ben or whoever else, the ones with the flashy shots, but the working class blue collar shots also are very important. And I think some people can relate to that a little bit more, because sometimes Ben will hit a shot and you're like, how did you even see that? Or why would you even attempt that, let alone hit it perfectly? And I don't think I could ever do that, versus the way I play. I feel like it's maybe a little bit more attainable for more people. But I don't know that for sure.
No, yeah. I mean, you make it look kind of easy with I think especially the midcourt, bro. Like that's really where, because it's like a lot of people can make drops consistently, and a lot of people can make dinks and speed up off their forehand, out of the air. But what you do in the midcourt is especially good. And you're right. Like it does look kind of easy. It's just like, oh, he's just putting his paddle out, and it's that easy. It just drops right in the kitchen, but it is difficult. I'm trying to do drills, man.
I'll give you one tip that I like to give at my clinics.
Give me a tip, bro.
A tip for the midcourt, and it's a little bit counterintuitive. I mean, it is and it isn't, but I say the mindset is super important when you're resetting the ball. And the right mindset is almost nonchalant. It should be almost casual. Like, hey, bring your best shot at me. It's not going to bother me. And if I do that, I'm putting myself in the right physical and mental condition to reset. Because most people are the opposite of that, where they're panicking because they're like, I don't have any time. I don't know what I'm going to do with this ball. Let me just stab at it. And nothing good ever happens from that.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'll tell somebody is your approach is really important. Like literally, I'll just stand there and I say, hit as hard as you can at me. And I'll just stick my paddle out. Like, why are you guys so inclined to panic? Like, it's a little plastic ball. You're far enough away. You're going to get a paddle on it. And you're going to have a lot more success if you can just sit back, realize that you have more time than you think, and just be a little bit more nonchalant about it. And then I'm not saying that it's easy from that point, because you got to line up the paddle and hit it cleanly, and lots of other things, lots of other factors come into play. But if you're not right off the bat in the right mindset, it's very, very difficult to reset consistently.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip, because I feel like when I'm playing well and I'm like in the midcourt, it's like, oh yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's like, oh yeah, of course, just speed it up. Like I'm just gonna make it and get to the kitchen. Like it's that. And then when I'm, freaking out and I'm like nervous or whatever, it's like, oh, I hope they don't speed this up. I hope they just kind of dink it back to me and I can hit a little easy fifth. Interesting. So you think like I feel like that also helps, like with even something as little as like grip strength on the paddle. I feel like if I'm tight in the midcourt and I got like a 7 out of 10 grip on the paddle, like that's going to be a lot tougher versus if I'm relaxed, 4 out of 10 grip strength. Like I feel like that's way better for those shots.
Yeah. So funnily enough, a lot of people do like to think about grip strength, or they hear about it. It's not something that I personally think or teach much, because your 7 out of 10 is going to be different than my 7 out of 10.
Right.
So I always say, just don't do one of the two extremes, which you don't want to death grip and you don't want to be almost dropping the paddle. As long as you're in between one of those two, and you feel comfortable with it and you're starting to have some success, stick with that. Because I always like to say that the grip will naturally firm up as you're about to hit the ball. Maybe sometimes people squeeze it too hard. That, generally speaking, is probably what most people do on a block. But still, it's really hard to define, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Because like I said, your 7 out of 10 is different than my 7 out of 10.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I agree. Hey, I want to move on because this is something me and you have a special bond over this. You don't know this. We have a very special bond. This is the net chords. Okay. You are famous for your, just kind of throwing your hands up or whining about the net chords and stuff. I'm so bad, dude. I'm so sick of, I feel like I don't get any nets. I feel like it's 2-1 with people because I feel like I'm tall. I hit down on the ball and I don't hit much spin. I feel like I don't get any net chords. And I just think it affects the game too much. Collin, is there a solution to the net chords? Because dude, tighten the net. Is there a solution? Because I feel like it does, bro. Like, honestly, there's 2 or 3 shots per game. Maybe it really depends, but it's kind of a nightmare, especially at the kitchen. You are screwed if there's a speed up or a counter that tips the net. Can we figure this out, man? Let's
All right. Let's talk a little bit more at a physical level about this, because a lot of people will talk about, you moan and groan about it, but there is a reason why pro matches are never played on temp nets. And that's because the temp nets, they always let the ball over. So the more like a temp net that a regular net behaves, the more unfair it is. So you've probably never played Ben on a temp net, but he's literally good enough to aim for the top of the net on a temp net and hit it on purpose, consistently. And you basically have no chance of getting those back because it tips the net and you don't have enough reaction time to readjust. So these nets recently, I don't know what tension they're putting them at or how heavy or sturdy the net cord actually is, because it seems like a lot more net cords go over these days. And it could be a change to the material of the nets and also the tension that they put in the nets. So I would like to see a standard put in place for how tight the net cord actually is and how heavy the netting actually is. Because like I said, we don't play on temp nets. So don't make it a would-be temp net by stringing it too loosely. So that's what it is at a physical level. At a mental level, it just annoys me because, number one, there's nothing you can do about it. And number two, a lot of times people are getting away with what I consider to be a low percentage, relatively dumb trigger pull. So especially if it's a mid-court from your shoelaces and you swing really hard, there's no way you should be winning that point. Or I should at least get a paddle on it. And then nothing annoys me more than someone getting rewarded for that dumb decision in my mind by hitting the net cord, and then there's nothing I can do to adjust. It's I hit a good shot. I'm like, no, you really didn't, and you should have paid a price for that one. And maybe at some point we can standardize a little bit of a heavier netting and tighter tension, or we should just continue to talk about how much Collin hates net cords.
No, dude, we got to figure it out, man, because you're the one, bro. You're the one guy, because I've been whining about this for years. I mean, since I've been playing, I've just been like, why is there 2 or 3 points a game that are decided by some BS net? It's because in tennis, it's not like that, bro. It's just
it's not.
The occasional let or whatever, but it's it's such a night, and it pisses me off. Oh God, people kind of say, oh, Collin shouldn't whine about the net cord so much. It's kind of funny that you do it, but it's bro, it is BS. It's just, and I don't know. It's just, I don't like it. So I'm with you on that.
I'm glad we can agree on that.
That's yeah. Okay, let's end this conversation. I know you got to go. I want a couple kind of kooky questions for you, bud. Okay. Listen, I'm getting into I've been playing for a while, but I'm getting into it next year, really locking in. Are there Collin Johns groupies? Have you ever experienced this? Is there any, is that a thing? Specific to Collin. I'm not saying you've ever indulged, but is there Collin Johns groupies out there? Because I'm interested in getting groupies myself.
You're interested in that,
Absolutely.
I can't really definitively answer that question. Certainly, there are fans of me and my game and how I play the game.
Yes, there are.
Especially in the past couple of years, where the coverage is greater and the exposure is more, and people look on YouTube and see who the best players are, and they'll see me and Ben, and they'll see Ben plays the game a certain way, Collin plays the game a certain way, and for whatever reason, they really relate or like the way that I play. So certainly, I run into those people, and I just did a pickleball getaways recently in Costa Rica, where I had some clients there that were in that same sort of vein, where they're like, we really like the way you play. Can we learn to reset like you? What are your thoughts on this part of the game? So I wouldn't necessarily call those people groupies, but definitely there are some fans of how I play.
Gotcha. Now I just want some, 40 plus just attractive women who just follow me around. That's just one.
The dream.
That's the dream.
The dream.
What's better than that? You're hitting some dinks. You got an attractive 42-year-old. I mean, that's not even that I would do any. I mean, but just the attention.
Just
nice.
Promise that you'll shoot me a text and tell me that it's happened if that does happen.
I absolutely. It'll all because of you. All because of you. Okay. Guilty pleasures. Do you have any guilty that can be anything from like cupcakes to heroin or male prostitutes? Anything like that. Anything like that. Any guilty pleasure?
That's a really easy answer for me, actually. My guilty pleasure is definitely milk and cookies. I drink a lot of milk, a lot of whole milk, probably 3 gallons a week if I'm home. So I'm pretty serious about my milk addiction, and it has to be done with cookies. So whether it's Oreos, molasses, peanut butter, chocolate chip, I don't really discriminate. A good cookie with a glass of milk, you'll basically see me on the daily getting a little bit of that. So definitely my guilty pleasure.
Do you dip the cookies, or do you put them in the milk and kind of like make a little cookie kind of milkshake?
So
you dip.
It's not that I want the cookies per se. I do. It's more that something has to go with the milk. The milk is the more important part. So I dip them in the milk typically, eat them, drink a lot of the milk, and then eat the rest of the cookie. So the cookie's almost a side thought, and definitely they go into the milk because the milk is just the best part of that.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. All right. Last
that's the reason I play the right side well. Actually, you should start to indulge in that, Greg.
Cookies and listen, man. But I do like a little cookie kind of milkshake situation where I'll get a big glass and I'll sort of like get a spoon and sort of crumble the cookies with the spoon, and then I have a little cookie kind of shake situation. It's not good. I mean, it's bad. Listen, I'm on a diet, Collin. Actually, how much do you weigh? What's your weight?
What is my weight? My weight right now is 170.
Okay, and you're what, 6 foot?
A little under 6 foot. Yeah,
okay.
5'11" and change, not quite 6 feet.
I'm actually on a little bit of a fitness / weight loss journey, man. I got up to about 220. I'm 6'4", but I was about 220. It was just.
Yeah, you have a big frame, so you can get away with a little bit.
I know,
extra.
But it was kind of gross, man. It's just the love handles. It was the whole thing. I'm down to honestly, it was kind of sick, is what it was. It was just all the fat in my abs. It was kind of gross. But I'm down about 205 now. I'm going to get down to about 195. Good playing weight for me, I think.
Good fighting weight for you.
Good fighting weight for Dow.
I mean, maybe you'll get back on the singles court if you ever were on the singles court. I don't know.
I've only played one singles tournament, man. I am absolutely horrific. It is. I'm just trying to get the mix going, bro. That's really. I'm just. I'm.
Yeah, you and me both. Yeah.
Well, you're better, but it's like I'm 6'4". Like, figure it out. Like, the reach I have is like it's.
You got to use it. Got to use that reach. I wish that I had a little bit more.
The movement for Dow is just not. It's just not good. But it's getting better. We're going to the gym. We're losing weight. We're 205. We're gonna be kind of. I mean. I want you to. I mean, look at.
That's looking pretty good.
That's not.
I think you should have AJ Kohler on your podcast next. He can crab walk all the way across the kitchen line, and then the 6'4" frame is going to be a lot more intimidating.
Yeah, I agree. AJ's another idol of mine, and he's in pretty good shape. He's kind of he's fit, I would say. I know he's.
Oh yeah, you got to ask him about his gym routine. Definitely do that.
He's got some extracurriculars going on that I'm not sure are great for his physical shape. But all right, last thing, buddy. Just give our millions of viewers here. Give us a tip. Give us the best tip that Collin Johns has, whether that's like a drill you do or a cue on your dink or something. Is there anything you can give us?
I guess I'll go back to what I typically answer for this question, and it's that I think there are two things in pickleball that are the most important, and neither one of them relate to physical skills. And those two things are court positioning and shot selection. In pickleball, if you do those two things really well, your physical skills will naturally just be better by virtue of being in the right place on the court and choosing the right shot. So you have to figure out what it is for you, but there are definitely some fundamentals that you need to have. So really think about it the next time when you're playing. Like, am I in the right position on the court? And am I choosing the right shot? Am I attacking from the midcourt more than I should? Maybe I should be hitting a block from there. Am I missing attackable balls at the kitchen line because I'm backing off the line? Just little things like that will start to develop your physical skills. So I would just really pay attention to those two things, because in pickleball, the benefit of doing those two things well is really, really exaggerated.
Yeah, agreed. Dude, appreciate you coming on. This was great. Audience, I hope you guys thank Collin Johns. Go buy the Scorpius. Actually,
yeah,
maybe don't
had to represent here.
Buy the Ace Club, actually. Buy the Ace Club.
Well, yeah, you got to say that, but yeah.
Buy the Ace Club. Look at this thing. This is, come on, Scorpius. But hey, dude, appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you.
Yes. Yep. Thanks for having me on, Greg.